a number of prominent Republicans have endorsed Kamala Harris, for president. And Donald Trump has been trying to get Democrats on his side, including recently RFK Jr. and former Representative Tulsi Gabbard. They've joined his team, and he's given them roles in transition planning. Kennedy, in particular, may bring along some voters with him, but what is the risk, Rick, to his campaign of having these Democrats, former Democrats, or as some call them, Democratic rogues, on his team?
Well, the polls clearly show that Kennedy was taking more votes from Trump than from Harris. So by taking his name off the ballots in the battleground states, it's going to help Trump. But what's the impact of the endorsement going to be? Well, that's a little bit more complicated because you can point to a number of big contradictions between the policies and the beliefs of both Trump and Kennedy. You know, from abortion, where recently Kennedy suggested that women should be able to have abortions full term, global warming, environmentalism. You know, Kennedy had advocated cutting military spending by 50% and breaking up big banks and monopolies. I think that there's a lot of room for uncomfortable questions for both Kennedy and Trump on this. And if Dems are smart, all you need to go back and use Robert Kennedy's own words. In 2018, he wrote in Time magazine, quote, "Trump himself is the latest trauma, and his presidency has not just discredited our nation, but the entire American experiment in self-government," unquote. So I think the endorsement itself could
well, you know, Kennedy's got a lot of baggage, you might say, right? I mean, there's things, Michael, the brain worm, the chemtrails, the conspiracies. Yeah. That's what I'm kind of wondering. I mean, yes, there's going to be some percentage of voters, mostly because of the vaccination issue, I think, that will come over with them. But there's a whole bunch of people in the middle that people are appealing to, and I wonder whether they're going to be turned off by things like chemtrails.
Well, I mean, these two characters, you know, they might bring a minuscule temporary bump, which will be neutralized by Harris bringing back and recapturing the black vote that had went neutral on Biden. So that bump will have no meaning, right? There's a lot more currency in well-respected Republicans supporting Harris than these two desperate outliers who are unemployed joining the former president.
Jenny?
I love that. So you know, Tulsi Gabbard, we didn't mentioned her briefly. So Tulsi is interesting. You know, as a Democrat, she didn't fit very well when she ran in 2020. She has a very strong foreign policy orientation to her messaging. She was always much more conservative, I think, than the Democratic Party more generally. So I'm not surprised that she's kind of come to the Trump camp. And you know, to Rick's point, the research is pretty clear that these kinds of endorsements have very little measurable effect on electoral outcomes. It might have a little bump, as you said, Michael, to the feeling that people might have. It's like, oh, okay, Trump's bringing Democrats into the fold. He must really be, you know, somebody who speaks broadly to all Americans, but it won't last.
Okay, Tara?
Well, you know, I think both of these two are interesting. I think Gabbard, they're hoping will bring in female plus veteran. That's what I think they're really hoping will come with her, is that will pull some of the females. Now, you know, we all know not the majority who are going to support Harris, but that it will pull some of the females, and certainly that it will pull an increasing number of vets. I think the other thing is that with RFK, what they're hoping is, quite frankly, is that people will not hear the RF and just hear Kennedy.
They'll hear the K, right?
That's
support him.
100%.
Okay, and Michael, you wanted to get a quick point in, I think.
I was in Atlanta a few weeks back for a family reunion, and when you talk about the black vote, if you go to places like Atlanta, you're going to see an energy you haven't seen since the spring of 2007. Oh. Black America's on fire. I just want to put that out there.